capitalism, all of the gains in automation, it goes to the owner class. All you have to do is have everyone be an owner, and now suddenly any gain in automation is a gain for everybody. If you grow just one thing, it may not grow as well as if it grows with another thing. A good example of that is called the Three Sisters method of farming.
There is definitely multi-apartment buildings or multi-families that do passive design.
$100 million that they gave to Joe Rogan that they would kind of be out if they breach contract. Is that a bigger number? Or is 2 billion a bigger number?
I don't know, Zach.
It's a tough one. I
It's
know.
really hard.
And maybe comparing numbers is not Jeremy's strong suit. Gotta go kill a Jenny.
I still don't think you should kill her. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's a ghost, dude. Hello and welcome back to Bread Theory. I'm your host, Zach. Joining me tonight is Dan Platt. First show of the new year. Dan from the Albany.
What a year it's shaping up to be. But you know what? I'm getting deja vu. There have been other years where like January is hot, like January 6th and 5 years ago. And then the rest of the year was just kind of quiet, boring, whatever. But peace, the peace we need to organize within. That's the way I take it.
Sure.
No disruptions to those community picnics or farmers markets. Go out there and dancers in, but not for long. Thanks for coming by and saying hi.
Thanks for stopping by.
Good to see you. Been having quite a week myself. We had a little Hands Off Venezuela rally. Look at all these sign-ups here. I'm going to put those in because we actually co-sponsored something this time, initiated it.
Cool.
Instead of just globbing on and pissing people off with our, we're the Greens and we actually, want to do stuff.
We actually stand for
We're not just going to rant. This isn't just a speak out for ranting purposes. We actually do want to, talk about campaigning or something. But that means we're, electioneering. So a lot of rally organizers do not want that. And they'll even say something like, and I don't blame them. It's cause especially if they have other actually incumbents there. It's it's election season. We're going to have incumbents there. We're going to ask people don't campaign. I'm like, but if they're an incumbent, them being anywhere is campaigning. I mean, that's sort of what it means though, to go to everything and be present and be heard and be seen is to kind of prepare to be a candidate, to prepare to be a legislator or a leader, is that you're campaigning even when you're not supposed to not campaigning.
Right.
Which is, I suppose, Chris Catrone's advice for socialists: to be seen and not heard. Not all the way there with. I have to re-listen to what exactly he was kind of talking about, because he'll talk about how to build a left unity party. Maybe the acronym Socialist Unity Party, SUP.
I like it, yeah.
But it's still it's just a working group, it seems. Similar to this other Sublate, which is a bunch of media people, leftists who just want to kind of raise up socialist organizing, or just even just as a big discussion group in a way. But we'll see what comes of it. I might try to integrate myself as my TikTok is doing well. Great especially with the rallies I've been attending. I'm shooting videos there and uploading them, and there are getting 1,000. Some get 2,000, depending on the hashtag. Even the ones where it's just a clip of me yelling, Free Maduro, it's doing well. And even the Green Party videos where I just reading platform lines are getting on average more than 200 views, which is, twice what I was doing a year ago. So it's been a gradual, slow growth. But yeah, especially as I hit the milestone of finally stable 200 followers and over that. So now I'm probably at 220 now, or 230. Yeah. The last 2 weeks have been good. And we'll see if that people who came for the protests stay for the Green Party, for the
That's
socialist
always the
organizing.
hope.
In the meantime, I need to want to do lives. I see lives a lot, though it's usually just a couple of people doing them. But we're watching. But I have to prove I'm an adult first. And the third-party software that TikTok had wasn't picking up my ID, or I couldn't even activate it. So I'll just keep trying that. But I have a lot of other things to worry about first. Buying this house, as I keep mentioning. Anyway, I'm over talking.
You qualify to do lives on TikTok. That's cool. I don't have enough followers to even do that.
I guess you need more than 100 then, because I think I started getting the notifications from the app that's like, hey, you can do lives. And I click the go live button, and it's like, you need to be, we need to check you out. Have us scan your ID or your face. And I'm like, fuck you. You have my face. Anyway. Let's see. So much to report, obviously.
Yeah, a lot going on.
The Maduro's looking away. All right. Here in New York. Though apparently his next court date is until March.
I still don't understand how they think that they can charge him with U.S. laws.
Buying time. They're dropping the charges like flies.
Like, they've already admitted that he was not part of this El Sol or whatever it was crime syndicate that the CIA made up.
Yeah.
So what is even the charge at this point?
Well, the thing about the court system is that you don't have to, sometimes it isn't really about locking someone up. It's about sabotaging their life.
Yeah.
You wrap up someone with court dates and being in jail, even with, and not giving them bond, and you're disrupting their life and thus their family.
I guess that's why they took his wife as well. I thought that was incredibly bizarre that somehow his wife would be implicated.
It's not like she's his.
She's not a political official.
She would be a rallying point in the country or something. But but in the American mind, I mean, as far as when they think of tyrants, they think oh yeah, their wife is the next in line. So if she wasn't kidnapped too, then she would fill his shoes, not his vice president.
How it even worked. The vice president follow the succession as they do in so-called democracies, right? So doesn't that right there a little bit contradict?
Reality doesn't fix into the mainstream mind on this. And by mainstream, I'm including all the libs and Democrats who, NPC Maduro is a brutal dictator.
What a dictator. Glad he's out of there. I just don't like the way they did it. You should have asked permission first.
Yeah. Or another progressive in my county who's a county legislator. He was distancing himself look, I'm a social democrat. This is not the same as the social. I'm for public spending, but not like what, in the way Maduro did it. What angers me is the implication that Maduro was using this socialist label, but not doing anything remotely like socialism, including broad public spending. That he wasn't even being a social democrat. See, I'm a social democrat. I'm just for public spending. I'm not for the authoritarian governance that Maduro does, even though no one that they have to be pretty well read as far as reading The Atlantic, I guess, and other right-wing publications to be able to name something bad Maduro did, because I would have to dig to admit okay, yeah, there's this thing that was stacking the, but again, it's the kind of things that is even if liberals are pushed they what, we should stack the court.
Yeah.
So if he stacks the court, then it's oh, that's authoritarian. And when progressives want to stack the court, then the implication is when we want to use power, we don't really mean it. We don't actually want to be in power. So, because we don't trust government or whatever. Right. And so it's okay. But other leftists abroad, they actually want to take power and use the state. And that's authoritarian. So I know on TikTok kind of blew up between like MLs and anarchists again. I think it happens every few months because they have to argue with who's
So
the
obnoxious
psyop
to
and
see.
who are the feds, and never what kind of org they should be joining, and why.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to meet the one of the organizers for the local Indivisible chapter, and she invited. So the story is, and she's super nice, maybe too nice, but she's super nice, and
Suspicious.
no, but I mean in a cute
I'm
way.
just kidding.
Like she actually said like I want to take you to lunch to make up for like not blowing me off, but anyway. I meet her at an event last week. Check out my TikTok for clips of it. It was for an Afghan family that I scooped up outside of the main mosque in Albany. It's on our main street, which is more of a stroke. Anyway. So the biggest mosque in Albany scooped up the Afghan family. This is the kind of Afghans who were collaborators with our occupation, so they get the legal clearance to come to America after the occupation's over and make a life here. And I scoops them up, so the local Democrats are on it. They got 2 of them released. The other 2 are kind of still in custody, and they'll be released eventually, I suppose. They're on their way. And so the rally was to kind of welcome the 2 back, and also, works as an anti-ICE protest. It's organized by a bunch of groups were there, but it was like also the Democrats too. So, because that's there's 2 kinds of rallies going on right now: Democrat supported rallies and non-Democrats. One will be half the size of the other, but half the size is still better than maybe a few years ago when it would be a quarter of the size.
Yeah.
That's the way. That was my observation with our rally on Sunday.
You do got to take your wins where you find.
So this was the Saturday before last. I'm sort of not able to mingle with everybody there, though a third of the crowd I already know by name or by face, including some cousins of mine. But I talked to some people, a woman who was sort of standing behind the PSL folks. She was the organizer for Indivisible. I actually didn't know she was Indivisible. But she invited me to speak at one of the rallies she was putting together, a vigil for 3 Kings Day. And so I was like, yeah, sure. It's not not the usual audience. It's not a leftist audience, I assume. So I tailored some remarks to call out ICE and talk about, make a personal experience about when I first learned of ICE and how it was like 2012. And I was told by activists about how terrible that ICE was doing everything they're doing now because it was the Obama administration's guy who came up with the idea of splitting up families to get people deported. And now he's Trump's like borders are. So, it's all one regime. But
yeah,
you say that, you make people mad because like either it's a reaction of you want Republicans to win, or you don't care about anything. You're some kind of nihilist because you hate everybody. You don't want Democrats back or something.
They're not equally bad. Come on.
That's the kind of reaction you get, right? So I try to, depending on the audience, know your audience, imply that it's both parties without saying Obama's name, but just say like ICE has been getting more funding every year since it was created.
There you go.
And say when it was created.
Make them go look it up and have to face the music.
And something I noticed about Green Party speeches is that we're not really rah great at rallies because we're always relaying information people don't already know. So people actually have to stop and think about what we're saying.
Right.
So we don't get a lot of call and response going.
A lot of explaining that needs to take place. Oh. Lost them all of a sudden.
Still here.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So I don't see that as a negative. But it makes us different in that, like, I'm comparing our delivery, like the way, like, literally when I'm thinking about like my speech, and like whenever I've given one, I'm usually not getting a lot of cheering.
Sure.
But I'm like, you know what? It's not because I'm an awkward public speaker, but it's because, like, when others get the crowd going, it's because they're saying really simple things that everyone already
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
But eventually, and because the Greens are just burnt out movement activists or any party people, we don't want to say the same thing every time. We want to say new information. We want to educate the crowd. But that means it's like we're actually making a little bit of a little lecture. It's a little more of a speech. And it's not like, that's why Bernie's speeches were not exciting to me. It's like, yeah, I already know all this bullshit. Let's just get to the point where you talk about policy or whatever. But even then. But I mean, it was all brand new for the people going, like people who were actually truly curious and knew nothing. But still, like, could cheer because it's very simple messaging. But that was something I was thinking about with the remarks I wrote, which were just 2 minutes, and then the remarks that my comrade Peter gave, where he kind of had to keep ending his sentences with "right," because I've done that before too at rallies, where it's like I'm trying to make sure everyone's still with me, because they're not cheering.
Yeah.
Like, are you with me here? Like, are you following this?
Just picking up what I'm laying down. Yeah.
Am I being, are we being too heady, too wordy? Like we're not, like, yeah. So, oh yeah, back to the, yeah. So she invites me to speak. She had to cancel it last week because there was a bit of a rain warning, and today it was really windy. So she didn't cancel it, but she had to come short because some of the speakers canceled. And I didn't, but I told her already that I was going to be there late because of my work schedule. So when I got there, they were wrapping up and leaving. So she was super sorry. And actually it said, like, oh yeah, I got to take you to lunch. I got to say, she was so profusely sorry, which is a bit refreshing, actually, compared to like a lot of the, again, people that I've known since Occupy. And that over the years, maybe for one reason or another, sometimes it's more recent even, they don't look at me and say, like, they don't look at me with friendliness. And I'm like, I want to be friends. We don't want to be close friends, right? But it's like, I want you to at least say hi when I say, like, when I look at you and go, hey, and they just give me the stink eye almost. Or anyway, that's just some of the other activists. It's hard. It's always hard to know, like, where I stand with some people when they're not, like, happy to see me, I suppose. And that's maybe insecurity. Like, everyone doesn't have to be happy to see me. Everyone doesn't have to like me. But maybe I'm just asking for some politeness or civility, or just like,
some
especially when we're all
courtesy.
making speeches about how we're uniting and we're not letting our tendency or what kind of org we're part of get in the way. And my way of making sure that's, like, in practice and not just talk is that, yeah, I'm going to be a member of everything and show up a little bit, at least a few times a year to, like, I'm going to go to the DSA meeting this weekend. It's our strategy and bylaw discussion, like, because they're looking at changing their bylaws because they do want to make it harder or easier for them to endorse things, or more strict about what they endorse, because there was all of this hem and hawing about sharing the stage with Democrats who are Zionists, or sharing the stage with Zionists. There were enough of the membership that are like, we should not be in the same room with Zionists. We don't want to share their spaces. We don't want their fucking support. We want them to come to us, or we want the people who follow them to shift. It's not about getting them on, being friends so we can work together against the fascists, because they're the fucking fascists too. Pretty simple. And I think that's sort of what so far the conversation has been about with the bylaws. But the electoral committee, which I went to last week, which is fusing with the legislative committee, which to me is too much. doing too much. That really, those are two different committees for a reason.
Yeah, that seems like they should.
Lobbying and electioneering.
Yeah,
I
very
know
different
there's
skill
a sort of
sets.
mindset that they go together, but they're not, because one, actually, the lobbying is about appealing to those already in office and incumbents. And the electioneering is about challenging those very people.
Right.
But that depends on where you're coming from, where, okay, when the DSA is electioneering, should it only be cadre members being candidates and not endorsing anyone who isn't a DSA member? And not only a DSA member, like, oh, they joined last year, but a cadre member, like somebody who's been active.
That seems like that would be smart. Like, I know they want to have a broad reach, but they gotta stay on some message, right?
It
If there's
limits
some
your
principles.
options, but it means
It
that
does.
what it does, though, is that when you win, it is your people,
Right.
and you don't have
I
to
think that's
hold
a-
them accountable. They're already in your org,
Yeah.
and they're already from your org. They're like Mandami, for all of the whatever realpolitik that he does.
Sure.
For example, saying that protesters chanting a pro-Hamas, doing a pro-Hamas chant, is not acceptable.
Yeah.
But the selling of real estate in Jerusalem in a synagogue that they were protesting is acceptable.
Right.
But that's less policy, but just posturing. And I don't always like conflating the two. But anyway, for all of his whatever realpolitik he's doing, he is from the DSA cadre.
Right.
And not from he's not like AOC, who was recruited.
Right. Yeah, I think that does make a difference. And it's a bigger W that you can hold up then too.
They certainly are. But at the same time, because there are so many non-DSAers who were brought in to volunteer for the Mandami campaign, they formed a nonprofit, a 501c4,
Sure.
to retain them. So this org will be specifically advocacy for the Mandami agenda. So they can, but it's interesting. It's actually something that Green brought up as something we should consider doing, because there will be people who will say volunteer for a presidential campaign, but then not continue being active with a local or forming a local or with the party even. Like, they weren't interested in party building. They were just interested in the fact that we had an anti-peerless candidate. But it's like, look, we're only able to do that because we're a party and we have people. And we definitely need someone to replace. We need a standard bearer for the next term. It's my guess it would be Matt Ho. He seems to be the person who's like, if it's someone's on the national stage as a Green, it's him.
Not familiar with that person.
He was our Senate candidate in North Carolina, so he's been on some left-wing shows outside of that capacity, but also as someone who's running for Senate as a third-party person. And he's a veteran. So he's basically the actual left version of the guy in Maine with the with the former swastika tattoo.
What was that dude's name?
Forgot his name already.
Plattner.
So he's the actual left Plattner.
Yeah.
Not the pretend one.
Okay.
So what would you like to do?
I'm not really sure. Let's take a look at what we got.
So I'll circle back. And while we were pre-gaming, I mentioned because we were talking about kind of reactionaries among those who are really pissed off right now. And it brought to mind, because it's fresh, because I read Lenin's anti-leftcom essay, left-wing communism and infantile disorder.
Yeah.
But there's also some other choice paragraphs. So he talks about at one point well, okay, take this in stride. Anarchism and the social revolutionaries, which he considers enemies within the working class movement that the Bolsheviks defeated. And keep in mind, he's writing after the October Revolution.
Sure.
But he refers to something called, petty bourgeois revolutionariness. He kind of explains, and again, I'm paraphrasing, these are my notes. The small proprietor, the small master who suffers under capitalist oppression and an acute or rapid deterioration of living conditions. This describes most Americans. But goes easily to revolutionary extremes, but is incapable of perseverance, organization, discipline, or steadfastness. They are driven to frenzy by the horrors of capitalism, but they have an instability about them caused by having a lack of theory, which is then their, frenzy is transformed into submission, apathy, fantasy, and a frenzied infatuation with one or another fad.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unfair critique of a lot of anarchists, to be honest, especially the kind that, maybe get into it through the punk scene or through some other avenue. That, yeah, they are just kind of viscerally reacting to capitalism, maybe against big business, but don't even, or against authoritarianism in a kind of vague way, but don't really have the theory to know what else is even possible. So yeah, I would assume that those people would be a little bit flighty and, not in it for the long haul and kind of in and out of the movement as they see fit and that sort of thing. So
yeah, and I do need to. So I'll continue with my notes here because it goes on. So while defending the party principle itself, because he's basically reacting to a pamphlet that says no parties, like a party is a type of master because a party has a party leadership and they're going to tell you what to do, right? Sure. When defending the party principle itself, he relates petty bourgeois diffuseness, instability, incapacity for sustained effort, for unity and organized action, which will destroy any worker movement. A revolution can't crush or abolish the small proprietor, but must convert them over many years. Or that, and this was, I guess, his vision, that the proletarians would surround. He relates the proletarians are surrounded by petty bourgeois spinelessness, disunity, individualism, and alternative modes of exaltation and dejection, which is countered by a strict discipline in a party having an organizational role in people's politics. In everyday actions, and this is something that the party has to be steadfast and strong against the petty bourgeois, revolutionariness, because in the everyday actions of millions of small proprietors, the bourgeoisie is restored, if left to be.
I think that's true. When stuff goes down, when there's an uprising or a riot or whatever, you see which side the petty bourgeois takes. It's always the side of authority and restoration of the capitalist system. So, yeah.
Now, I came to my anti-market positions before reading any ML. Or it was after reading Marx and Engels. So I guess you start with the source, and it doesn't matter whoever else was influenced by Marx later or says they were. But it's an argument again, for being anti-market as well as just anti-corporate, in one's anti-capitalism. And though it's, as far as transitional states go, I mean, or it's an argument that you can't really have that transitional state where you're doing market socialism, because in the marketplace, you'll have still an army of small proprietors slowly keeping bourgeoisie values and modes of production alive.
Yeah, I say that.
I don't want to be
possible.
absolute about such a conclusion, but I'm just relaying something I've thought about since college.
I mean, I guess it depends on really who holds more power. Is it the sole proprietorships or worker cooperatives at that point? And I would assume it would still be worker cooperatives. So I don't know how they would reassert capitalist values necessarily.
Well, it's a question of, are they can they coexist? And a lot of the assumptions is that they can, but what is this assumption based on is something I question.
Yeah, I just don't know that it matters really. Like, if they don't have much power to do anything counter-revolutionary.
They will have power to be counter-revolutionary. They will do, I think Lenin's argument is just by existing that they are being counter-revolutionary.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't.
Which is how you get into the whole destroying freedom, because being a sole proprietor is what makes one free in America, or in our minds. I definitely don't buy that. Well, the ability to be an entrepreneur and do things your own way and be your own boss.
Economic freedom, which is a real freedom that we all need to pursue.
I mean, if all the capital for sole proprietorships is coming from a state or community or cooperative bank, then that's, I suppose that's a way. Then if the circuits of capital are held in common, then the sole proprietorship then isn't a danger. So maybe it's in that kind of context that if the infrastructure that the sole proprietor, like the markets, are not just regulated, but sorry, I don't want to go into some esoteric, what does the future of socialist planning look like? But because you already lost if you're going to sort of having that discussion. But unfortunately, I was kind of wrangled into having one with a small proprietor who is a sign maker, and he's a bit of a conservative guy. But and his main contention is just planning doesn't work. It's been proven he can't do any planning. And but he did have some pause when I actually described Cybersyn to him, and that you just you have computers to not just manage everything. You're not doing what a computer says, but to keep track of things. And it's imagine all the databases that our economy uses now, but instead of just being siloed by companies, you'd be surprised what is able to be accomplished with the kind of database technologies that we have. I was totally ignorant of them until I was actually working with them with my state service, civil service. First, the databases used by SUNY to keep track of students and student attainment and how many teaching hours are happening and how much students are using the libraries and certain programs. And it's all in the way of being able to show what programming works and what doesn't, what people are taking, what doesn't, and then there's the case management system I'm working with, which is incredibly old, but still magic as far as just being able to keep track of everything going on. Mm-hmm. And then being able to run queries to say how many cases are we going through, what kind of outcomes are there. This is all stuff that would be the job of a dozen people to audit, to go through all the paperwork of a year. And it also, and I kind of related computers in the planning process is what stops lying and corruption from occurring. The corruption of any kind of economic system comes from the fact that people are profit seeking, or maybe just seeking some kind of advantage for themselves, and they're not able to be held accountable. But computers and records kind of stop. The iron law of bureaucracy, I suppose, is that there are records, and records, you can't get away with bullshit if there are records. You can't if AI is left to make the records, then or manage them, we're cooked. But
Sure.
corporate AI,
Right.
but it was a reason, at least given by one YouTube, talking about why didn't the Soviet Union like computerize, and because they had the resources, they had people who were proposing it, but you had too many middle managers who they wouldn't be able to lie anymore about their quotas. And
I've not heard that.
but it also means that it's like, well, then maybe the quotas could be adjusted so that, but no, it wasn't that they couldn't meet quotas or they'd be killed otherwise. It was that they would lose bonuses if they weren't able to lie about getting past their quotas. But in lying about getting past the quotas, it's like, oh, wait, we're not able to actually keep track of how much is being made or how much is being used. And so all of these inefficiencies gather up. Sort of like our own economy, because even though the state keeps track of how many businesses there are and what their address is and what their revenue is with taxes and maybe their expenses, but it doesn't keep track of anything else about business or commerce. Not that I'm aware of. That has to be like nonprofits studying something for years. Or I guess it's the academics the economists will need to, like, they have to study like what's actually like going on. Because otherwise the only information the state truly gathers on like even a small business or a big business is just how much they're making and how much they're spending. If they're claiming expenses for like tax returns,
Sure,
and how much they're bringing in revenue. Just those basic numbers for tax purposes, but nothing about really how much they're producing for how many people, like how many customers they had. That's not always something the businesses are recording, but they probably should, or they do, but they're not required to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
And how the hell? But that's how you would be able to plan economy, by actually gathering that up and basically saying, being able to trim the fat, so to speak, by saying like, well, you're not really serving that many people. Now, of course, okay, you're a niche product for a niche audience.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, things are now out in the open.
Let's see, was there anything else? Yeah, there was more, of course. So he speaks about, so the main thing that Lenin, though, talks about throughout the I think a lot of his writing between like 1905 and his death is the need for revolutionaries to balance legal and illegal work. And then this might be coming up again as people are discussing, the illegal versus the legal. And in a world of mass surveillance that did not even exist, it seemed like surveillance was pretty complete with plants and spying and whatever back then. But it's certainly like you can't get away with anything now, really. So what place does illegalism have? Especially in Lenin's time, his battle with the Bolsheviks and the Communist Party of Russia was to retain illegal activities. Apparently, there was the Mensheviks' big split with the Bolsheviks was the fact that they wanted to liquidate the illegal activities. Stalin shouldn't be robbing banks and whatever, or we shouldn't be breaking laws, even if they're the Tsar's laws or the petty bourgeois laws, the bourgeoisie's laws. But a balance between legal and illegal work is what Lenin promotes, and sort of how he won, by playing dirty over here, but also playing fair over here, because the fairness bits get you the mass support, it makes you legitimate, and then the dirty and the legal parts, not playing fair, is how you actually get one up over your competitors.
Yeah.
Whether they be the fascists or the liberals. Because the liberals will rap fuck you too, and they'll use the laws against you.
Oh yeah.
And of course the fascists, so they don't believe in laws.
Right.
Their might
The
makes
power.
right,
That's
but
about
they
it.
want the chaos. They're
Mhm.
actually quite chaotic.
Absolutely.
So that's some of my notes. I've been taking quite a lot of them over the last few years, mostly because I was reading stuff at work, which isn't happening anymore. But something I did reread at work today, because I had the extra time, is from a Sophia Burns, written in 2018. Sophia Burns is a Marxist who's quite a firebrand. I forget what the name of her book is, but she's written some things. And this is published in The Left Wind, which is Discourse in Marxism. And this is her article called the U.S. Left Has Only 4 Tendencies. So we can stop every paragraph or so, but otherwise it'll take a while. Objectively, most inherited tendency divisions are obsolete. For instance, your evaluation of the USSR and its rivals mattered 50 years ago because the right line could get you Soviet or Chinese money with strings attached. Today, USSR is not a live issue with practical implications, and the PRC no longer funds revolutionaries. Nearly all 20th century tendency
What's happening?
Nearly 3 decades after the end of the Cold War, though, those geopolitics have ceased to be a driving force behind the U.S. left's internal dynamics. There are differences between leftists that matter, but the nature of those differences has changed. Leftist theory must be materialist. It must begin with empirical investigation into how social phenomenon play out in practice, rather than beginning with the ideas that people have and assuming that social dynamics flow from there. The history of ideas is a reflection of the history of actual events, not vice versa. Quotes Marx, social being determines people's consciousness. The subjective beliefs of organization A and org B may differ profoundly. They may claim radically different tendency heritages. However, if their internal organizational sociology and real-life practice are the same, then from a Marxist perspective, their ideologies are equivalent. This was a conclusion I came to during an episode of my show where I read out how both anarchist orgs and ML orgs are both doing mutual aid work.
Mhm.
And like almost the same activities. I'm like, so
Yeah.
what's the difference between them now? Their perceived end goal, but they're not building any differently from each other. So you can't argue that the means have to be like the ends.
Mhm.
It was very both odd, but like kind of satisfying to come to this conclusion of like, what are they really fucking fighting about?
Right.
I'll read on. In fact, the more emphasis a group places on idea-based lines of demarcation, the more likely it is that there's some feature of its social existence that leads it to an idealist consciousness. That is, wrongly believing that ideas have more impact on what groups do than the dynamics of their internal structure and external activities. This is why you'll find many anarchist groups be quite hierarchical in their dynamics. And some ML groups can be pretty horizontal, because it's just a group of friends.
Hmm.
Then there's really not in particular leader. Ironically, many such orgs claim to adhere to a strict materialist analysis. However, they never realize it. Their de facto idealism prevents them from turning that materialist analysis on themselves. Now, if you look at the actual existing U.S. left in material terms, then the divisions you see aren't the ones that existed during the 20th century. It contains 4 tendencies which don't clearly map onto the inherited categories of Maoism, anarchism, Trotskyism, etc. So anyone using these terms today sort of makes me roll my eyes a bit, because just like, and this was happening on TikTok recently, I think. So like there was some rantings about Trotskyism or something.
Hmm.
Or maybe maybe I'm just thinking of socialism for all, because he'll like But he's more like doing a study group about all the 20th century tendencies, though, so it makes that's okay. But to try to map this onto like today, I think is wrong because, like, well, who are the trots today? Okay, there are people who might identify as trots, or maybe they come from a trot tendency back in their youth when that was a thing, like the elders in the Green Party and Kavana Sawan and the SA, like their trot organizations, but not like it doesn't mean anything. It only means that they don't work with the PSL or some other Maoist group, or other ML group. It's just like, but why? It's like what's really like? There's no material difference because it's not like you're going to get support from the Soviet Union or something. It's sort of like a totem. So anyway, yeah, there's more to think about there. Obviously, they only really exist in pure form. Groups that are largely within one of them often contain minorities aligned with another. She's talking about these four tendencies she's going to explain. Many orgs, like the DSA, find themselves pulled in more than one direction, and a few, by the way, so I'll reference sometimes a response to this. I'm not going to read both. It would take too long. But in the response to this, he points out one of the things that makes the DSA such a winner right now is that they contain all four tendencies simultaneously. Now, this could mean that like it won't hold together, but it's also that his point, the response to this is that it's good for the tendencies to commingle and interact, even if they're not like actively working together, to just interact, to be in the same like DSA chapter, even if they're not like seeing eye to eye. It's like, okay, I'll stay in my committee and you stay in your committee because that's how my local DSA chapter works. But they're all still DSA members, and this strengthens all of them. You know, at least it makes them better. You can find synthesis in sometimes. Or eventually it will be a synthesis because all of these tendencies will be moving towards one larger socialist project, which is the DSA, like as an umbrella. As like there's a concept that there's a common socialist project. Okay, so many others like the IWW General Defense Committee are hybrids of these tendencies. However, what they all share. Okay, this is cool. So the response, his sort of like political compass of the left is a pentagram where each of the points is a different kind of practice. And then when there's like an axis on these, between these practices, like that's sort of these larger tendencies. Sort of thing. Okay, I see the live. So the first tendency she goes through is the government socialists. This is what she says. Take it with a grain of salt. Government socialists are pragmatic above all else. They exist either explicitly within the quote-unquote grassroots progressive Democratic Party faction, or else as local level political players within its broad sphere of influence. While they disagree about the ultimate goal of the reforms they pursue, some want outright communism at some unspecified future point, while others think a Sweden-style system is enough. They are united in their policy-focused realpolitik approach. Winnable reform fights are their bread and butter. They would rather impact policy by, quote, getting their hands dirty than retain, quote unquote, ideological purity at the cost of actual influence. Notable examples: DSA Momentum, and this is from 2018, so it's shifted a bit by now. DSA Momentum, freedomroad.org, CPUSA, Left Roots, certain Green Party chapters, like in places in Richmond, California. I consider these to be the right wing of the Green Party. The leadership of many Unite Here locals, certain so-called identity politics supporters within the nonprofit industrial complex who oppose the dominant Clinton wing of the Democrats. The second tendency are protest militants. These view government socialists with contempt, seeing little difference between them and outright liberals with whom they collaborate. Protest militants tend to stay away from policy campaigns and electoralism, since in their view, protest and power in the streets and lovers in the sheets is what really matters. Further, during protests, they push for confrontational and disruptive tactics, since they consider less aggressive protesters to be moderate by definition. For them, it's how you protest that divides the revolutionary wheat from the reformist chaff. Notable examples: most Black Bloc and Antifa practitioners, and Red Guards collectives, which I haven't really seen much of since the first Trump term. Perhaps they've been absorbed into other things.
Yeah.
So this might hit with us. The third tendency is the expressive hobbyists. Many expressive hobbyists attend the same demonstration, and we're back.
We're back yet again. Hopefully this
So,
is...
and we're back.
We're back yet again. Hopefully this is...
So, picking up
last
at the third tendency of the
third
left
tendency,
by
yes.
Miss Burns, the expressive hobbyists.
Mm.
Many expressive hobbyists attend the same demonstrations as protest militants, but for them, the point isn't exciting revolutionary confrontation. Rather, it's the alphabet soup sects that bring their own signs and start their own chants to raise consciousness. PSO. They hold academic conferences to talk about the latest developments in radical theory, form endless study circles, and start online journals to read each other's analysis. Different subtendencies prefer social media arguing and meme making, seeking faculty or progressive media jobs, selling newspapers at whatever protest is in the news this week, or making zines with their friends. So now it seems like she's discussing wildly different people, but she is trying to form this cohesive materialist category. However, what they all share is the lack of a concrete material stake in the organizing they undertake, which they define entirely in terms of the ideas they spread. Notable examples: any established Marxist sect, most of the anarcho-punk social scene, certain charity-style projects like Food Not Bombs that don't organize their beneficiaries into durable organizations, radical academia, and most leftist publications and media outlets. Pretty broad there. Now, the fourth tendency, and this is the one she's biased towards, and it's what a lot of Marxists, not a lot, but I mean enough that make it a trend, were arguing about in 2018, post Bernie's campaign, which is, and I cover this a good amount on my show, at least 4 or 5 episodes I would talk about this. Base builders. Base builders start by recognizing that in the U.S., the working class exists in economic terms, but does not exist as what Marx called a class for itself. A class organized through its own infrastructure of institutions, capable of consciously contesting with other classes for social power. Because such an organized base for mass socialism is absent, base builders think the top leftist priority should be to establish one. While mutual aid projects are often characterized as the signature base building activity, and I happen to agree with Burns here, this is a distortion. Rather, most base builders prioritize workplace or tenant organizing outside of pre-existing unions. So IWW does this, and any existing tenant organizing, which some of my comrades have joined in on, that's what they went to. Mutual aid serves as a way to consolidate those newly organized people into a durable framework of new institutions, but the heart of base building is organizing the unorganized and avoiding activist networking, which I think I'm always in danger of being pulled into. While the FRSO or OSCL, which is freedomroad.org's left refoundation strategy, resonates with base building philosophically, base builders differ from this org in their rejection of the activist subculture, quote, or / nonprofit industrial complex, as a suitable base for refoundation. So there is a refoundation DSA caucus. A lot of DSA practice counts as this. So notable examples: the Marxist Center Network, which has since dissolved; Cooperation Jackson; the Black Rose Anarchist Federation, which is kind of an interesting choice, and many parts of the IWW. And DSA Praxis, which is an interesting way of like saying everything the DSA does, but not the DSA itself. So, government socialists and base builders usually have a sense that the 20th century tendency divisions are obsolete. For the former, the need to gain influence within the progressive grassroots democratic faction means they can't afford to scare off liberal allies with public displays of sectarian hostility. That's the word I wanted before, the sectarian parties. For the latter, the sheer scale of the work of organizing the unorganized and the lack of inherited resources relative to other tendencies means that they can't afford not to work with each other, opinions about Mao notwithstanding. So protest militants and expressive hobbyists, though, generally have a highly developed sense of their tendency, heritage, and a lot of team spirit. After all, they're playing for neither influence within the establishment nor direct social power outside of it, like base builders, or influence within the establishment, like government socialists do. So they're by definition marginal and powerless. As a result, their participants never have an actual material stake in their work. People join unions and co-ops out of enlightened self-interest. This is referring to the first two tendencies. But protest militants and expressive hobbyists only have ideas to offer. So they have to distinguish themselves from each other philosophically however they can, and they're competing with each other for an extremely small pool of recruits, usually on college campuses. So sectarianism and factionalism are rampant among them, especially among expressive hobbyists and protest militants, not in spite of, but because of their underlying sameness. Which is sort of an answer to the question of why doesn't the PSL work with some of these other sectarian groups? Why are they sectarian? They're so similar. They say very similar things, almost the same wording, and yet they don't work with each other. Why are they competing?
That's a good question. I think that they should.
And I guess it's because they're so same that they have to be so separate.
They have to,
but that doesn't answer why.
Elbow everyone to get a position.
Because if they were in just one big ML org or Maoist org, like MLM org. But that's the thing, like, the MLs don't like the MLMs, and the MLMs don't like the third worldists, and the third worldists, like, and you look at their debates online, and it's just such pedantry, and like, they're not really like it. Sometimes there's a glint of like, well, we need this kind of good position and line on this because it will change and affect how we organize in reality. But it's like, okay, but I don't see this organizing in reality. And if your tendency and your line is so important, then it should mean that you do good organizing. But you don't. Or it looks like you're doing good organizing when there's a big movement, when there's a big reaction, like the ICE. But then what's left after? What was left of PSL or the Answers Coalition after 08? It was, but anyway, she'll get into the Occupy stuff. So arguably, and again, more ranting about the other, the tendency she doesn't like. Arguably, protest militants and expressive hobbyists should be considered different factions of the same tendency. So she makes 4 tendencies, but then she also kind of libs 2 of them together. While their style differs in most groups and either come down firmly on one side or the other, they're closely related and have significant overlap. Thinking of them separately is useful in so much as they go about existing on the fringe of liberal activism in distinctive ways. Now, this whole, like, the line fringe of liberal activism, is sometimes very literal, where you'll have a big protest like the March for Climate that I was in. The Green Party, we had a section in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were one of the groups marching in a very, very, very long march. It was a March for Climate.
Sure.
It had unions. It had nonprofits. It had all of the hobbyists, but not the protest militants. The protest militants, well, that's interesting. It was the hobbyists. It was the government socialists. Base builders didn't exist yet. Although in some ways, the Green Party, I joined it because it seemed like it was looking to do base building the most before the concept even started coming up. Or they're government socialists, but being independent made them more attractive to me because they weren't interested in full collaboration with liberals. Is legit. Because I saw so many going right into that after Occupy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the hobbyist direction. So government socialists, protest militants, and expressive hobbyists all exist entirely within the activist subculture. They differ only in their relative degree of powerlessness within it. Most space builders currently have at least one foot in the subculture. Generally, that's due to either the personal backgrounds of base builders who have become disillusioned with another tendency, or the organizational affiliations some of them share with non-base builders. For example, the IWW and DSA both contain currents of all four tendencies, even though government socialists are rare in the IWW, but dominant in the DSA, while protest militants are rare in the DSA, but common in the IWW. However, only the base builders, which she's holding up, have the potential. And also, it's not so much like there's a tendency that like is better than the rest or morally pure, but she's simply making the argument of like, we have this protest subculture that the left in the US has been mired in since the 60s, and we need a way out. So she's proposing, along with others in 2018, base building.
Mm-hmm.
So the potential to break away from activism. Should they succeed in refounding mass socialism, then parts of the other three tendencies will jump ship for the newly constructed social base. After decades of failing to get much traction by piggybacking off the Democrats, some of them will try their luck piggybacking off of someone else instead. However, they don't want to and couldn't take the plunge on their own because they are structurally incapable of organizing a social base themselves. They have to depend on those who can. Of course, who can do that? The objective conditions are more favorable than they have been in generations for refounding mass socialism in the US. Base builders are right that organizing the unorganized and rejecting activist networking is the only way to do it. However, base building is slow and patient. Activists in all three of the other tendencies promise quicker and easier results. Leftists shouldn't buy what they're selling, though. The activist subculture is institutionally inseparable from the Democratic Party and the capitalist state. Refoundation can't happen inside it, and the left shouldn't squander its chances. What do you think?
Boy, yeah.
There's a lot to digest, and it really
there
helps
is.
to read the reaction to it by and let me just tell you what it, John Allen, who agrees with a lot of what I just.
All right, back once again. Welcome, Pancho. Good to see you. First of all, no, you are not glitching. I don't know what is going on with the program that I use to live stream, but it keeps screwing up and dumping me off of live mode. So I don't know what's going on. I apologize for that, but I don't know what else to do than power through it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Unless just shut everything down and restart, but I don't know that I want to do that.
Hi, Pancho McFarland.
Yeah, he's Poncho's a friend of mine from
Cool.
various permaculture circles and stuff. He's a cool guy.
So what did you think of? Let's just keep it contained to like the 4 tendencies. Like how
I think those are
I think that was useful.
pretty well described. So base building is the long game, right? So this is
Yeah, organizing. It's doing here. So I like this. I'll have to share my screen if I can get this bigger. I don't know if I can. Let me share my screen. Well, I just want. Well, let's see if I have it in the. Hold on. Pictures.
yeah, it'd be good to see a graphic of it.
Social.
I think I
Not
get
a
the
graphic
gist.
of the 4 tendencies, but it's a graphic of like that this guy made to basically elucidate like what he found to be like the real, like what she's really talking about. Political visual aids. And I think I put in either put in political spectrum or I put it in no. Theory and action, probably. No, I don't see it.
Well, that's okay.
I'm gonna save it and then I'll share it. Hold on.
Sure. But I think I get the basic idea of the 4 tendencies.
Yeah, I'll just describe it. So like he has a pentagram with 5 practices. So there's a mutual aid, labor practices, electioneering practices, intellectual, and activism.
Right.
So depending on like the kinds of tendencies are between 2 of these kind of practices, like they make up 2. So like if you do mutual aid and activism, he calls that base building.
Sure.
Between intellectual practice and activism, that's the protest militant or the expressive hobbyist. So if you're
I guess I just don't know why we have to choose one mode. Like, shouldn't we be building a party and a movement that's large enough to contain all tendencies
or practices?
Or practices, right? Yeah, practices.
It's activities, really.
It just seems like there's benefits to every practice.
Yeah.
Why?
I think the tendency that
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
it's I think it's just a matter of what you pick you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just a commitment to a certain project. Like I'm going to do labor organizing because doing all of these at once. Like we're just individuals, I think was what we're talking about.
Sure.
So and I think maybe that's what Burns's issue is with these tendencies is that we're applying them. They're really applied to individuals because over a group, it's like, well, the group is a magnitude. And the best groups are the ones that actually have all the tendencies or even calling them tendencies, I think is actually wrong here. They're activities. Because I guess, no, it is assumed though that there is some kind of ideological commitment to depending on what activities you're going to focus on. So like if you're doing elections, then there's a bunch of assumptions and ideological positions bound up with that. Like we should be taking power with the state that exists and we seek to transform it later, or once we take power, our goal is to transform it then. because I think that's necessary. Or if you're just going to be a labor organizer, it's with the ideological facet that no, we need the Soviets, and the Soviets just replace the government. They become the new government, a union-led government, because with unions, that's how you can reorganize the whole economy. You don't do it with the state. And I think what makes revolutions really happen and succeed is that, yeah, you do have all of these activities occurring, and for the reason of transforming society in the leftward egalitarian direction. And that's how all of these people doing these different activities can then form a political bloc, and work together and form a government. Even if they're doing different activities, they're in the same government, or they make up the same government, and there isn't even an ideological struggle happening between them. But like, you get all these splits because like you get all these arguments about like, well, how are we fighting our current regime? How are we fighting the fascists now? And you get all these disagreements and masturbating.
Yeah. So then the answer is then we should be fighting them now and building the base and, you know, all of the other actions. Like that, those are all ways to fight. And some of them are going to be more important in any given moment. I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. But.
So something to point out, which is an addendum to this article written in 2018, is fast forwarding 6-7 years now, is that base building was proposed as an escape from the activist subculture of like, and the failures of past movements, Occupy, and all that stuff.
I totally understand that. Yeah.
And what has been the result? The result has been something of a synthesis, something of a dialectic, in that base building has not replaced all these other tendencies. It's that all the other tendencies have, because they have the staying power, because, like, as I said, they're what we do because that's the bones we have from the previous generations of the left in the 60s and 80s. We don't have any other ways of being the left in this country except activism and academia.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because of the widening inequality and crisis of capitalism, there is now the space for base building and or doing these other things. So you have these other three tendencies that are absorbing base. They're all doing a little bit of base building now. So they've absorbed. It's not that base building was this successor and it absorbed, and like as Burns proposed, that all of these other types of leftists will piggyback onto the base builders because they're the vanguard that are winning, and they're doing the exciting work of organizing workers like in Amazon and tenants unions. And all these other activists and all these other like government socialists and Greens will all join in and do that now. But what's happening instead is, well, we all see that and like, yeah, we all want to do that, but we want to do it and integrate it with what we've been already doing, because we either have some kind of support network, we already have some infrastructure, even if it's meager, it's still more than nothing, or from starting over. And integrating that base building, say like, so like in the Green Party, it's sort of like, if we're going to have a strategy, and it's always been there percolating, is that we need, taking a prefigurative strategy, that we start community projects to advertise and demonstrate our policies and use that to form a social base to then win elections. Because we're not doing it by fundraising. We're not going to do it for the usual electioneering strategies like media presence or saturation. That's just not happening. We're never given the access. We're not going to build a base because, an audience, because I think that's all a lot of activists ever have is audiences. You know, the PSL has an audience. I keep harping on the PSL because they're actually doing well in my area. They're growing.
Yeah, mine as
And
well.
so they're attracting a lot of people. And I'm curious what they're going to be doing eventually, but I think with the crisis ramping up, it's like, well, they can just keep going movement to movement, and they're not going to burn out. But I'm not sure what the wider project is. You know, what is the PSL's activities outside of the usual activist stuff of education and agitation and organizing pickets and rallies. Right?
Yeah.
They did one outside of the big Walmart in Albany or the Home Depot.
My local chapter is doing some urban agriculture this summer. I'm going to be helping out with that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, I think like, so to my point even. So it's like, I'm not going to treat PSL like a cult anymore because they're taking on base building activities. The people joining want to be doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to see, and I hope to see a lot of that same stuff with anyone who joins the Greens is going to come and like, oh, we should be doing community projects. We should be doing some kind of base building. And I'm like, yes. But if you're going to do it with the Greens or do it under our offices, just know that's to serve running for office. And like, that's where eventually we got to go with it. Or while you're doing that and you pay dues, I'll help you run for office when the time comes.
Yeah.
Be ready. You know, it looks like we're losing, but we're just preparing. And then when we hit the ground running, we're going to wipe these loser Dems out of our city. We will replace them.
If any time, if there's ever been a good time for that, it should be now, because of the inaction and the impotence that the Democrats have shown from the beginning of this Trump administration. So
here in Albany, we have a super progressive new hot mayor. And hotshot mayor is what I mean. And
sure.
But a more conservative city council, where a few of them have never attended a city council meeting before. That's how low the bar was for our elections. And man, I really wish. But the thing was, whoever won in my ward, I think both could have said that they have not. Neither of them had attended a city council meeting before. So, and if I knew that, I think I would have known that if I was campaigning properly, I would have been hammering them both on it. Actually, I'm like, I've gone to city council meeting. I actually know how some of the functions of the city happen, how the departments work. These guys don't know anything. They're just active in the community more or less.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean they actually know how to govern or what to do with their council seat.
Not at all.
And some will take multiple terms to figure that out. But that's my past council person, of which my current one will be succeeding, will be exactly the same. A seat filler. Barely proposing anything, barely having any like active thoughts on what to do about certain issues. But talking like he's listening to everybody and cares. And it's disheartening that like it's usually like the campaigning in my ward seems to be, my assumption is like whoever talked to them first is like, okay, you have my vote. And it would be impolite if the challenger comes by and it's like, well, I already talked to the first person. And it would be impolite, if I voted against them now. Right. There's a sort of like social pressure, like, because you asked for the vote, like, oh, maybe, Well, some are maybe, well, no. See, the thing is, the primary, like, there are people like committed early. And that's just maybe based on the clicks that existed already. But again, it would have been tough to like make space for myself.
Oh, for sure.
But during the primary, I guess. Maybe after the primary, maybe it would have been more like, well, actually, yeah, between these two, older gents, I picked one over the other. It was, it was really, really fucking close. 3 votes between them. But now it's a choice between you, him, and you, who does seem to have actual ideas. Maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah. You'd hope there'd be a place for actual ideas in any given race.
Yeah. But yeah, social base is a watchword. So I hope that was interesting. I'll see
Absolutely
how my
it was.
comrades at the SP feel about it. We got some drama at the SP right now where a bunch of the northeastern chapters are considering splitting off from the national. Which sucks because with a little bit of peer pressure, I guess, or not wanting to be for my membership the lapse, I re-up my dues to the national. But now I one of my other fellow members actually said, actually, I'm gonna hold off renewing my dues until I hear back from our comrades report back from the convention.
Yeah.
Like he went to the national meeting. We want to hear his report back, though it's usually negative. But that's because he hates a lot of things. I don't know what would make him happy. No, actually, no, that's not true. I've seen him like pleased about something, but we'll see. And I may have thrown some money that I shouldn't have, but I guess I can afford it now. In the meantime, I've been semi-convinced to stop paying dues to the National Green Party and switch them to paying dues to the what's called the Green Socialist Organizing Project, GSOP, which is the older version of the Yes Caucus, which is Young Eco Socialists. So there's a under 35 and that GSOP is over 35, which is, if not started, but spearheaded by Howie Hawkins.
Oh, cool.
And is sort of like the party in a party, I guess, that the DSA fixes with the Dems. But it's not a party; it's a project.
Yeah.
It's meant to be like the Socialist Caucus of the Green Party.
Yeah. Right.
That we don't call ourselves that, but I feel like we should transition into being a caucus, like the Yes Caucus is. Because the Yes Caucus proposes changes to the platform and stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't know if the project does or what its function could be in the party. I don't know, but the party does need reform, and I'm not sure how it will happen without the GSOP should be the vehicle for reforming the party. I guess I need to talk to Howie about it. He's got his weekly podcast that he does. He does like a stream too.
Yeah, I do catch that from.
So he's an expressive hobbyist.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like it's like we've all been each of these tendencies to me. Mean, but sort of like it's been on purpose though, because like I want to hedge my bets almost. I don't want to be committed to any one particular activity in case that activity was a waste of time. But perhaps none of them are, and they're all necessary to a degree. Yeah. So do you want to finish with something fun?
Sure, let's definitely do something fun.
Is there something on your plate that you want to bring up?
Oh boy. No, the only things I've been paying attention to lately is all the chaos that's been happening locally. So none of that's going to be fun.
Apparently, Nick Sherpley is a local boy for you. He's a Minneapolis resident. The dumbass right winger who broke the story on the daycares.
Oh, sure.
Fraud.
I forgot that was even his
who
name.
comes across as borderline illiterate, but apparently graduated high school.
Yeah, that was a really bizarre story because it sounds like our state level Republicans just shoveled a bunch of money at him and then just kind of pointed him towards the daycares, and he just went around kind of bumbling his way
Yeah.
into a story.
He doesn't even introduce the guy he's like going touring with. He just calls him Bob, and that's it.
He's
Or George.
he's completely
And he does no
incompetent
last name, no title. Like,
as a journalist. Yeah,
it's just, oh, he's just a guy. But that's what's endearing to the right. They just love it when it's just some guy like them.
you're right.
Not an expert, no
Can't be too
professional.
different or it's scary. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, he was. Yeah, it just reminded me a lot of that Project Veritas style journalism.
What was the
just-
name of the guy of Project Veritas? I've completely blanked
Right, yeah.
because I put it out of my mind.
I hardly remember him anymore.
Because he's not around, or maybe he is, but he's now like in a supporting role in the
He was
Trump government or something.
I think he was sued by Project Veritas, and they took the name away from him. 'cause he was
Yes.
even too corrupt. For
And
them
thus
or
ended
something.
his career as a figure.
What was that dude's name? I'm gonna look that up now.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll have fun with that. We'll maybe we'll do a deep dive and see where he is now.
Yeah, right.
But Hassan was joking / Hassan Piker, was kind of joking / projecting that the right wing hogs, like they need their media to be so simple and relatable to them that the next like even the Andrew Tates and the other and the old dark web manosphere guys, like they're too smart and articulate.
Not
They
relatable enough.
they're well read. They
It's
almost sound real
weird.
read.
Yeah, right.
And
They're
so
not just regular dudes.
they want to hear from someone who comes across with a developmental disability. That's Nick Shipley, someone who like really doesn't understand what's going on and is confused.
Just a guy asking questions, but
and
an
doesn't
honest dude.
and he has questions because he doesn't understand anything.
Right.
And he can't even like remember the woman who's feeding him stuff, which makes him the perfect bullshitter because it's like,
Yeah,
he can lie to you. And like this
He
was Hassan's joke. Like you could ask him what he had for breakfast and he could give you complete bullshit and lie. But for him, it would be the truth because he truly can't remember what he had for
doesn't
breakfast.
remember. Yeah, it's all just one big mess.
That's why he lies. He doesn't know. And he's another jerk who started YouTubing when he was a sophomore in high school, and thus that's when his schooling ended. But it seems like his education stopped long before that because the way he acts and talks. There's jokes about him like, this is why homeschooling needs to be illegal. But when talking to Andrew Callahan, that's what Hassan was reacting to. And again, Callahan is just running circles by just asking him the simplest like questions and follow-ups, and he's just like,
the talent for that, yeah.
Whatever, like literally mumbling. He mumbles his fucking words because he can't pronounce shit. Yeah, just like halving, like he can speak. Hassan joked like they need like there's being monolingual. Well, actually, hogs like they want their media figures to be like 0.5 English speaker.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to speak half English. Yeah, just the basics. Using $5 words, like articulated. Articulate. Constantly mixing up what words he's saying, like it's boarded up or blacked out.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, which is it? Is it boarded up or is it blacked out? No, he's gonna say both. And then, in his audience, they're like, yeah, it was boarded up and blacked out. Or they'll hear boarded up and it says like, yeah, it's boarded up. It's like, no, but he also said blacked out. That was the reality or what he really saw. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
They already heard the first thing.
Yeah. But anyway, the Project Veritas guy was James O'Keefe.
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe, yeah.
O'Keefe.
I don't know what he is up to now, but
We could visit Carlin Barashenko.
oh yeah.
Haven't watched her since I last reviewed her with you in
Suppose we could.
summer. When she was and I think she visited the White House the same time Nick was, because she's she's one of the right-wing influencers who studies Antifa and gets in their face and does the counter propaganda.
I don't remember how to spell Carlin's name at all.
It's Krayn or something. Not like George Carlin. It's Carlin with a K. That's the first name. And it's a girl's name, and she's a girly girl.
Oh, there she is. Carlin Borsenko. Let's bring it up.
You can also look for The Cult. I'm sure she always does well when there's left-wing protests. The Quartering.
Anti-ice.
Antifa. Yeah, she's obsessed with Antifa. That's her bread and butter.
Yeah, well, it's her pinned video. Maybe we should watch it. Oh no, it's live right now. In fact.
Well, let's join it. You want to Nest streams?
I'm not sure.
She does 10-minute stuff. She does.
Yeah, let's
somewhere.
find some of her more bite-sized.
She ragging on the Quartering. I mean, that's easy mode.
Yeah, right. Does anyone watch the Quartering anymore?
Well, you'll note, like, the pattern is that a content creator should attack or collaborate with those who are the same number of subscribers.
So power level, huh?
Right. So by beating up on someone who's the same level of subscribers, you either pull some of their audience to you, and that's what allows you to grow. Do it to someone less, it doesn't quite work. If you attack someone bigger than you, you're likely going to be struck down, because audience strength is power level. So collaborate with those. If you collaborate with people who are equal to you, then you actually have an equal relationship and power dynamic. And the same goes for interlocutors. And this was something discussed by President Sunday. So no other content creator kind of talked about it in this way, but he actually did a stream called like a strategy session, where he actually kind of looked up all the other YouTubers who had the same number of subscribers as him, and sort of made a list of like people he would talk to, work with, and those he would like, oh yeah, I can rip them a new one, or they have got problems.
All right. We could look at Nick Sorter and Cam Higbee get attacked by Antifa.
Sure.
Are you familiar with these two?
No. Oh, sort of. I know that in Portland was the last time I was watching her. So whenever the Portland ice stuff went down.
So Nick Sorter is one of those, what do you call it? It's the where we go on, where we go all sort of guys.
You didn't mean the Proud Boys?
No. It was that
the Boogaloo Boys?
No. the Viking who stormed the Capitol. He was one of them.
Well, he wasn't part of a group.
Yeah, no, he was. He was.
Was? I guess he was.
Why can't I think of it?
We go one, we go all. I mean, that was the chant. That was like the slogan of Patriot Front, or
no, it wasn't.
It wasn't Patriot Front. It
was a grand conspiracy. The people that did
a QAnon, you mean?
QAnon. That's it. Yeah, he's a big QAnon guy. And
it's not even an org. That's just the subculture, I guess.
Yeah, right.
You can call it that.
I know. Let's take a look at this. This might be.
You guys just tuning in. You got Nick Sorter and Cam Higbee in the Jeep here. They were both out. Nick Sorter hit a female protester.
Yeah, he was punching a woman. So great guy.
Really? They usually don't like. They usually
here in Minnesota.
their usual opus memorandi is to just be obnoxious and annoying, but not touch anybody. So
Oh no, he's willing
if
to
a
do that.
leftist kind of pushes them or pushes them to leave the area, they're like, "Look how violent they are." And that's their content.
No, he's firmly in the belief that ICE is now going to back up any violence that the right ever
They
wants to
do.
do. So he doesn't. He's dropping.
They
all
technically,
pretenses
I
of
mean, the police
masks.
always do that, though.
Yeah.
They never
But,
lost that.
He seems pretty comfortable dropping the mask and just being full fascist and violent. But anyway, let's
Oh, there they go.
Carlin looks a bit thinner.
Uh-oh. They're trying to prevent the... Oh, shit.
And she titles this, "They get attacked by Antifa protesters." Those two guys, those are the ones in that Jeep there who just about ran people down.
Was it a Jeep? It was a truck.
Jeep truck. I don't know. It looked like
Yeah. It was a Jeep that with a truck bed, I guess.
yeah. Whatever you want to call this.
Yeah.
Trying to prevent the...
Oh, Rubicon. Yeah, there you go. That apparently was an Antifa assault against them.
Mm.
Hard to tell since they were in the truck running people down, but
Oh, shit.
Hey, did you get that? Everybody get that? That's Nick Sorter.
Oh,
my God. I'm
shit.
fucking him up. I am so fucking him up as soon as he comes back in here.
Oh, shit.
my God.
We need an instant replay that. Instant replay.
Higbee in the Jeep here. They were both out. Nick Sorter hit a female protester.
They did the
So
right
you got
thing.
people here in Minnesota.
They
Oh,
did
there
the
they
right
go.
thing, but like I don't think they hit anyone. They jumped on the car. The protesters jumped on the car. Everyone see that? The protesters jumped on the car. The protesters jumped on the car. Look at this.
they did not jump on the car.
Jump on. Yeah, when you're getting flipped
ran into-
around
Yeah,
by the hood, basically.
he ran
You know,
into
kind of
them.
rolling with the hood
So,
there.
I
mean,
guess-
I'm only speaking to the ones fit on the camera side.
right.
It looks like the one on the opposite side of the truck might have been pulled a little bit more, but obviously the ones facing us were just kind of rolling with the hood.
Right.
So they're
on
not
the
getting
far
rolled,
side.
not getting run over.
I mean, no one was completely run over, but
Because they know how to
running-
sidestep
running
out of
into
the
them.
way when
Yeah.
a car accelerates. When
Yeah.
obviously they're not calling your bluff by getting in their way.
But a shame none of them had.
Though I'm not sure what stopping them from leaving would accomplish, except annoying them more, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing a citizen's arrest at that point. I mean, at that point, like if you want to stop them from going, slash their tires.
Yeah.
Big nail.
Well, it's too bad none of them had a gun because apparently that's the standard now. Is
Yeah,
anytime
no.
a car approaches you can just shoot.
Well, I saw a I don't know if I call it dumb or not, but post about like the Ted of ICE is panicked because they're having conversations about like how the public will jump in front of their car and then use it as a pretext if they're moving
Yeah.
through it to be armed and shoot ICE officers.
Yeah.
They're thinking in terms of tat for tat.
Mhm. Oh, let's see what else we got. Some guy calls for ICE agents to be shot.
They found quote unquote Trigglypuff. I mean, I already kind of knew they were fat liberation
What is
activists, I guess.
Trigglypuff?
It's an old meme, or at least an old anti-feminist meme. Trigglypuff, which is, I don't know if they were a lolcow or I don't know the story. I don't really want to explore that actually.
That's fine. You don't have to.
Our plan to overthrow the U.S. government, always a winner.
Let's see.
Expose the DSA inside the pro-Venezuela organizing call.
We could see that.
We
God.
have
She needs to be banned. Like, I don't know what.
How is she getting invited to these calls?
I
People need
I
some
don't.
better OPSEC.
There definitely needs to be better OPSEC, but I know she uses fake names or something. But like,
I mean, that
if
could
it's
be
a
a
matter of like members only,
Yeah, right.
but there's all these organizing calls she's getting invites to, when she clearly is not a member of any of these orgs, unless she is paying dues, and that's how she's
maybe
getting
she
the
is
link.
taking some of the money she makes from this and
That must be. It's a small price to pay.
Yeah, that probably is it.
That's probably the only thing she does. But I mean, if she is a member, she would have to use her legal name. And
maybe they just not.
And they're not checking.
I mean, she's pretty low level. Like,
true, more or less.
She had somewhat of a moment.
Well,
like
now she was invited to the White House, so she has a profile.
I suppose, but I don't know. Let's see what she has to say.
demands. The first one is to free President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Celia Flores now. That is our first demand. The second one is to pass the War Powers Resolution, which we're going to explain what that is. But we absolutely need to pass a War Powers Resolution. That way Trump can't just continue to attack Venezuela without any restraint. And so the third thing is to impeach Trump for war crimes. This is an absolute criminal behavior, and he needs to be impeached. The fourth demand is no war for oil. And the fifth demand is to end all sanctions against Venezuela, which is something that the DSA that we've advocated for years now. And so we have two things in the immediate future that we're going to be organizing around. The first is to organize and attend a day of action, an action during DSA's National Day of Protest, and it's going to be this Saturday, January 10th, and we're actually working with BSL, so they've co-endorsed January 10th.
She's not even reacting.
She's soy. What do you mean? She's soy faced.
Oh wow, they said the thing.
That's a more Marxist org.
This Saturday as a national day of action, and so the plan is that we're going to be working together and also potentially aligning with other left groups in the United States.
I believe that as socialists and as workers, we have an obligation to our international union siblings to disavow these crimes. For this reason, my comrades Lavender and Sarah and I brought forward and passed a resolution in the National Labor Commission Steering Committee to use our influence, however big or small, to push the U.S. labor movement to be in solidarity with Venezuelans, resisting imperialism, and in support of Venezuelan sovereignty. The resolution calls on the NLC to provide chapters and NLC members with a template resolution.
I don't know if we should keep with this. She's not actually reacting.
That's quite a freeze frame there. Well, no, this is most of her streams though. That's kind of why I stopped. Like she really wasn't interesting. And again, whenever she's waiting for a buzzword because she simplified leftism down for audience as a series of buzzwords and conflations and sort of boiling everything down because there's too many words, just no five. So she's quite boring. Maybe she always was, but
this is this is a 9-minute clip of what was probably at least a half-hour call.
Well, keep in mind, like to her and her audience, just everything that the speaker's saying is taken as outrageous and like crazy, crazy lefties. Maybe it's just troll culture of like just laugh emojiing like everything that's different. I guess. On my TikToks that do well, I'll get what I assume are bots. They definitely post like bots. They post they comment with memes, little pictures, usually of like just look at these liberals. Oh, liberals are stupid. Oh, or the usual like these again trolling lines that have no bearing on me, so I just delete them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I bet all of you never came out to protest Biden when he did this stuff, or worse, if Biden did this, you'd be cheering him.
He's like, no, no, none of us cheered Biden when he was in office.
The genocide that all us leftists were really like you were calling us crazy for opposing that.
Uh-huh.
We were opposing Biden too, asshole.
Right. Let's see if she actually
they can pass in their own unions. In terms of tangible, I'm going to drop a link to the tech link. Please stay plugged into the NLC and that ignite curiosity in our
crimes, no war for oil, and end all sanctions against Venezuela. You can start by contacting your representative is at the links.
3,000, and we're growing week by week. So this it's a lot of nonprofits joining and participating in what chapters are doing on the ground.
So bizarre. At least this is a video, I guess.
I'm Carolyn Bursenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist covering the far left, and this is a second in a series of videos I'm doing reading the propaganda of the Turtle Island Liberation Front that they posted on their social media before, or perhaps during, plotting to bomb major American cities. They were arrested by the FBI, and now we're going back and looking at the propaganda.
Yeah, did they ever find any evidence for any of that stuff, or is that just a
sorry, you have to back up. I got distracted by Peter messaging me about
sorry.
A problem in a way.
So this Turtle Island Liberation Front that they arrested around New Year's for supposedly plotting to blow up something. I just wonder if anything ever came of that, or that was just.
I mean, as far as I know, the FBI basically either incited some punk anarchists to do this, or they made up this group so they could have a win, and say that there are Antifa who are terrorists and they're on the ball, and that the war on terror machine is keeping you safe. But it mirrored a lot of the war on terror of inciting a group of 3 Muslim guys to but it's the Fed who's proposing the bombing.
Again, they were protesting leading up to that. Today we're going to read this essay that they posted on October 18th on the date of the last No Kings protest. What do we do now? An essay on No Kings. And what you're going to see in this is what they're basically saying is peaceful protest doesn't work. We need to go beyond peaceful protest. This has been a consistent theme we've been seeing from a lot of far left groups over the last several months. They write, hey, I saw you at the No Kings protest this weekend. How are you? How was it? A whole lot of people across the country showed up, right? Really empowering to see so many people upset with the country turning down a dark road. You were at the last No Kings too, right? Back in June? Yeah, I heard there were millions of people attending everywhere. Yeah, really scared the government, really made them consider that sorry, it's been a rough few months. What happened since the last big protest? Congress passed a big ugly bill to make everything more expensive. ICE and National Guard invaded Chicago and Portland and Memphis, and some asshole got shot. Tragedy, that's in reference to Charlie Kirk. A whole bunch of schools were shot at, a whole bunch of shootings. Actually, wow, labeling trans people and their allies as terrorists. More families separated by ICE, more fascist rhetoric from our democratically elected representatives. More covering up Epstein files, several thousand slaughtered in Gaza. You're maybe at war with Venezuela, but maybe not. Did anything happen since the last protest? Hey, I'm starting to think that, maybe big protests like No Kings aren't actually doing anything. I'm pretty sure the point of a protest is to show those in power, hey, we're here, we're angry, and if you don't do something, we're going to escalate. It seems like the powerful have kept doing heinous stuff, and we're in the same place as before, but I'm sure protests will work this time, right? Okay, I think we've seen that fascists in power aren't going to let up anytime soon. I don't want to know how much worse things will get over the next 3 months, but I can't imagine horrible possibilities, and I think we should stop them from happening. Now we're going to start escalating, getting rowdy, preparing for more disruptive stuff. No, I'm not telling you to become violent, but if we run out of non-violent options, and the state has been violent towards our community the entire fucking time for decades, it's dangerous to not consider the possibility. There it is.
There it is, the exact same stuff the NRA has been saying since the 60s, but doesn't ever actually do anything with. Wow. If the state doesn't stop violently repressing us, we might have to be violent. Oh, whoa. So radical.
I mean, the post itself is sort of, it's not virtue signaling, but what's it called when you're just sort of pumping up yourself, making yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Self-aggrandizing. I mean, it's aimed at an audience that agrees with the message. It doesn't have any not argumentative power, persuasive power.
Sure.
It's too condescending to appeal to an actual liberal or anything like that. I don't know. I guess it's the rhetoric of ad busters, and ad busters was sort of such provocative rhetoric was a part of my radicalization, but again, it had to be combined with a lot of other things. So it can be out there, the provocative, condescending rhetoric of like, see how mainstream politics has failed you. It's like everyone knows it's failed us. I mean, it's not like you don't need to. That's why it's condescending to do that.
Sure.
Like they know the system doesn't work, or it's this, or you need something stronger than that, or an actual argument. If it's like, yeah, it has problems, but it needs reform. Speaking of which, maybe I can get your take on this. Not
Sure.
that, so Peter getting back to me about the last, he not only did another info session for proportional ranked choice voting at our ranked choice voting Albany ranked choice voting Albany group. And he did an info session, which included getting the advocate from Maine for proportional ranked choice voting. But he says that most of the people there seem scared of it. And he points out they're going to have an executive committee vote, which he's a member of it currently, representing us Greens, on Monday about the path that the group is going to take. So this is like a pivotal moment, because this is where, like, will it be good reformist or bad reformist in our eyes? And I think our discussion, at least among the two of us, but clearly we want, he'll resign his chair of the committee if they choose to just go with non-proportional ranked choice voting, because it only helps the Dems.
Sure.
He's sort of asking if maybe I can replace him. He'll ask if I can just replace him on there, but at the same time, once we're done with the stream, I'll respond with, well, I feel the same way you do. I feel like it should be something of a threat that, like, look, we're not going to help unless it's proportional. I know it seems like makes us maybe come off as petty and ideologically purist, and we're not being realistic here, but we've made our argument. We think you're being unrealistic by going for halfway measures. Right? This is not the reform you think it is, even if it's, well, okay, what Peter's main point is, which sort of puts me on edge, is saying, like, we're only going to get one chance at this. Once we reform our election voting system, like in Albany once, we're not going to do it again for another 40 years or something. It's like, it really matters how we do it now. Like, we're not going, this whole idea that reformists have or progressives have, that's like, look, we'll go for something small now, and then we'll keep building on it next term.
Tiny.
But next term will become 2 terms from now, 3 terms from now, 20 years from now, lifetime from now. That's what I've been hearing from progressives my whole fucking life since I was 4.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just work at it, and we'll get to somewhere better someday.
No.
Reform wise, we'll have police oversight. We'll have progressive policing. I'm like, yeah, I guess in 30 years we do have more progressive policing than we had 30 years ago. but we also still have a shitty police force, and we still have like, there is no like the police review board still doesn't have teeth. And in fact, it was defunct for like the last year and a half because the mayor like pulled the plug on it essentially. Even if it was being incorporated into actual city governance instead of being some independent thing that just happens to get like funding. So anyway, sorry, I don't mean to go into this other kind of rant because it's been sparked about, because now I'm a little panicked actually about like the will you think less of us if we just pull out and say like, look, you can go forward with ranked choice voting, but we can't support something that isn't going to actually help, especially not help us, but by us I mean multi-party democracy. What matters, that's what matters to us. Go for your half a loaf. That's what they're scared of, pushing too hard. But those are the Dems in the group. And one of them, which when I first met him, didn't care about, didn't know, but he's a Zionist. Hard one. Okay. And I'm just like, well, I can't look at him the same way now. I really can't. Like, it's hard. I can't, like, I don't look at, county legislator, now city auditor Sam Fine the same way. I see him in public. We say hi, but I'm like, yeah, hi. I keep it as short and curt as possible. I don't want to engage him. That's my version of the social cold shoulder. Like, I'm not talking to you. You're fucking fascist to me. A soft one. Sure. As long as you post like, supporting Israel and shit like that. Being anti-BDS or whatever. It's like, and what local policies are you really like pushing? You're not doing social democracy even. Anyway, that's also the reform coalition we got going on, and it's really optimistic about like I know they've managed, like we've been trying to coax them into being a little more stronger and going for PBR, because like there's even stronger versions that would be more complex and more of an ask, like mixed member districts. But we're going for like our halfway measure, at least in the Green Party, is just multi-member districts where it's still voting for people, for candidates, and making it candidate focused. Because mixed member districts means you're voting for people that are on a party line. You're voting like party lines are what's proportional, not the candidates. But hell, multi-member can still be like really fucking good. And they're scared it's asking for too much because, a lot of Dems will not want it. They have to push for something the Dems will want or accept. And it's sort of like, well, it's not our, like the Greens will have like us, because we're not many, of course, but like we have to just say it's not our time and we need to build up our social base, and then we'll reform the election system. But we need people on the council who are us. Otherwise, what the RVC people are thinking about is how, what I just said, the council's more conservative. They're not going to want any reform.
Sure.
But again, the whole point of this actually is that you don't need the government and the mayor. It's a petitioning. And for like, that's where it doesn't matter what the ask is, as long as it's simple enough to understand, and people understand our slogan that in order of multiple parties, you need multiple winners. Everyone I've said
Makes
that
sense.
to, they don't have to be wonks. They nod.
Yeah.
It's that makes sense. It's simple. It's
Well.
not what we call mixed member with party lines and whatever. That's too complicated. I get that.
Sure. Yeah.
I have trouble sorting it. But and whatever we're petitioning for, people will sign. And they need, God, I hope I'll just make sure Peter like makes the case. It like whatever we put in front of them, people will like, yes, change the voting. I don't care how. or rather, if I can understand it, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we shouldn't be afraid of turning people off because people want reform.
Yeah.
And proportional VB is good. We don't want to go halfway because that actually will turn off people in different ways. Certainly me. Certainly activists. But like, if people are committed to the Democrats or they're already office holders, then sure, they'll be against it. But they don't matter because we're doing things with the referendum process. We're going to need to gather like 6,000 to 9,000 signatures. All right. But I can imagine us doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I collected just 100 on my own in 2 months, and we're going to have 3 months or something. And so it's like, yeah, I can, and I don't have to consign myself. I could actually, and it could just be active voters. Like, I feel like I could get 300 easy. Right.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 20, 30 people.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a big ass.
And we'll get a lot of people like, involved. Like the ranked choice group. They've been recruiting really well. They've been really active. They got sort of institutional support as far as like the Unite New York org, where there's a full-time organizer who is a bit of a wonk, too much of a wonk, really. But yeah, that goes to show, like, the reformists, they're not even leftists, most of them. And they're seeing it as a way of diffusing the partisanship. There's that kind of mode. So they want to argue it for that way, and multi-party democracy actually isn't their agenda at all. They don't really want to push for that. It's really cynical to kind of like could go through this power mapping, I guess. We reached 9 o'clock for you.
Yeah.
It's disappointing if they do go in that, letting fear override the good reform. But I feel like we need to threaten, like, look, we're not going to help if you go this halfway. And like, okay, fine, you Dems and working family, we'll just keep being independent then and focus on. And again, and actually, in some ways, I'd actually be a little relieved because I'm torn between all the other kind of projects I want to do. And there's all kinds of other things that I know we can do to party build. The people who just signed up, like, there's tons of ideas that are more week to week things. And I think that's what I have the capacity to do.
Sure.
And not a full fucking campaign that takes up the whole spring. Because our plans involve tabling and chaperoning people to go to public meetings. I think that's something to do to make people comfortable with going to public meetings, public speaking, and just looking at governing. And then you can also see how ridiculous and stupid it is. But that's like, oh yeah, I could do this. It makes them like wonder, like, yeah, maybe I could do this. And they can. There's this veil of like mysticism about it that, like, well, you have to be a lawyer or it really helps. You need a good amount of experience working, you have to know everyone in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly helps when you run for office, knowing everyone in your neighborhood.
That's true.
That's the social base, kind of thing. But you should know everyone for the right reason, not because you're some sycophant, but because you've done something worthwhile.
Right. Something to be known for. Yeah.
Oh boy. Hopefully I don't get too stressed out about that.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope people stick to a more bold plan of action, like reform.
And over these last weeks, show your face, show you're interested.
Yeah.
It's not an entire paradox. I think people understand, like, time is finite. Everyone is doing their best.
Sure.
And have you seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
I have not. No, I was gonna check that out with my kids, but
please do. It's as good as everyone says it is.
Cool.
I checked it. I finally watched it 2 weeks ago, and all the reactions now. It's lots of fun. It's a short movie. It's only like 85 minutes.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
the
we'll
three
do
main
both.
characters, they all have their insecurities, right? And they're all horoscope-like, and that everyone can relate to them. And the Zoe, the shorter one, you know, the demon in her head says like, "You're too much and not enough." I'm like, that is how I feel.
That's
Like
pretty good.
when I'm insecure, that is what I feel.
Yeah.
I'm too much because I'm over talking, and do I
I
talk
feel the
over
same way
people
all the time.
and I'm super aware of it whenever someone says like, "Dan, let her talk," you know, like you're mansplaining or something. And it's like, are you being, you know, too? Are you being overly sensitive, or am I, you know, being too much? But then I also feel not enough when people like don't want to work with me. I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? But is it that something's? But the usual reason will be something else is pulling them harder than I am, and I'm not pulling people hard because I'm a bit of an introvert, and I don't want to just keep pulling people towards me. I feel like I'd be trying to manipulate them in that way by doing that. It's the last thing I want to do. And to me, it's like sort of my overthinking is like, is giving gifts manipulative? Is like, you know, is giving gifts after someone gave you a gift, but then so you feel guilty about it. And well, we'll see how that works out. I won't get into it.
Well, this was a fun stream as always. Forward to doing it again in a couple weeks.
Cool. We'll see how things are back in the later January after MLK Day. Go out, do some MLK activity, completely negate that it's a day off. Sorry, marches or work.
I do plan to go out for the protest on January 20th. I'm guessing it's a nationwide thing, the anniversary of Trump's first term.
Well, interestingly, there's a sort of like alternative MLK event, but it'll be in Schenectady, so I'd have to travel farther to get there. It's being put on by the more radical people in Schenectady, the Blacktivists, the remnants of BLM, in a way, because they had their splits. They had their splits for the same reasons that we were just talking about with that article. Okay. Later.
Have a good one. All right, gonna wrap it up in the next couple minutes here. Just wanted to make sure to share some events that are coming up if you are in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Let's bring it up right now and share it. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. So coming up this Saturday, I'm going to be attending the book club for the PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They're doing it at Sisyphus Brewing this January 17th. That's Saturday, 1:30. Second half of this book, Socialist Reconstruction, which is basically their manifesto of how a socialist America could look. It's very interesting. Even if you haven't read the book, they're very welcoming and willing to answer questions for people that are new to all this stuff as well. So whatever level of activist you are at, or whatever amount of theory that you've read in the past, there's going to be something for you there. So I plan on attending this Saturday, January 17th. Let's see what else they got going on. They got a lot of events coming up. So I also want to mention karaoke night on Monday, January 19th, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Swank Bar. I'm not familiar with that one. On West Broadway. Fundraiser to raise families impacted by ICE raid, raise money for families impacted by ICE raids. Also by the PSL. So I'm less likely to go to that one, but it does sound like a lot of fun. Like if I had unlimited free time, I would definitely go check it out. But as it stands, I will see. But yeah, just thought I'd shout that one out too. And then, let's see, it's the 23rd. Where is the one? There's one coming up on the 20th that I also wanted to shout out. This one? No, it's not that one. Anyway, there's going to be a big protest, Government Plaza, on the 20th. This must be it here. Yeah, there we go. Government Plaza, downtown Minneapolis, 2:30 p.m. Walkout for immigrant rights. This is the, of course, the 1-year anniversary of Trump's inauguration. So it should be a pretty good event. I plan on going to it. Yeah, see what we can get accomplished and see what kind of people we can bring into the movement. That'll be my strategy. So it is PSL and 50501. So it's probably going to be a pretty tame protest if that's something you're scared about, especially recently. But the 50501 ones did the No Kings. So yeah, it's they're protesting me more about just the numbers rather than the message, but it is a good opportunity to recruit some more people in and say, hey, feeling upset and you actually want to do something about it, join our organization. All right, and then calling for a general strike on the 23rd. We'll see how that develops. Either way, that's going to do it for tonight. Over my time as it is. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you on Sunday for more of the Witcher 3 playthrough. More of a casual sort of event. Less about politics, although this last time felt in a pretty ranty mood. So who knows? May happen again. Doesn't seem like things are getting any better around here. So more than likely. Anyway, see y'all Sunday. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for hanging with, if you have, through all of the failures of Restream. Figure out how to get that sorted out for next time, because that was no fun having to reset every 20 to 30 minutes. I know, I just keep rambling. Have a good one.